At number 10, Jennifer Lopez. This probably doesn't come as a shock to many, but it turns out that J-Lo isn't very nice. A lot of people have said that she's a real diva, and others say that she's just plain rude, and she's done a number of things that have rubbed people the wrong way. Apparently the singer/actress is very picky about who may or may not speak to her, and for those permitted to address her, they're not allowed to make eye contact. There have even been reports that she flat out refuses to comply with scripts. This has happened on a few occasions, most notably during filming for a Fiat commercial where they needed to hire a double for Jennifer simply because she just didn't want to do certain things for the shoot. On top of that, she doesn't have a good reputation with a lot of people who's worked with her either. She's said to have completely ignored the people who are remodeling her house. She's gotten a cleaning lady fired for having asked for an autograph, and she even refuses to talk to in-flight staff and pilots on flights and instructs her assistant to talk to them for her. And to make matters worse, even though her staff do so much for her, including communicating for her, they don't get paid very much for their time. Even though she may seem super cool on the surface, she's a little sour in real life. At number 9, Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey isn't the nicest person ever. She's had several run-ins with the paparazzi which have not gone over well, she's had some pretty bad relationships with others, and she's known for being a complete and utter diva. But there's one incident in particular that really just exposes how mean Mariah can be. There was a lawsuit from one of Mariah's former assistants which accused her of a number of horrible things. The former assistant alleged that the singer peed on her, ridiculed her body, and called her a handful of pretty rude names. Her former assistant said that she was hired by the singer to be on call 24/7 and assisted both Mariah and her manager at the time. Though she was paid a salary of $250,000 a year, this wage couldn't cover up the horrible things that she was put through by Mariah. But her case wasn't the only one up against the singer at the time. While this case was being disputed, Mariah had just settled one with her former manager who cited breach of contract, harassment, and unpaid wages. Just because you pay people a lot of money doesn't mean you get to treat them like trash. Now before I carry on with the list, I would like to take a moment to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, because your likes really help to support the channel and we love to see it. At number 8, Gwyneth Paltrow. A lot of people seem to really dislike Gwyneth Paltrow for some reason. Though she's never really done anything horrible to people directly, it is alleged that she's so disliked in Hollywood because she comes off as pretty pretentious, egotistical, and privileged. People don't really see Gwyneth as the average person or as someone that they can relate to, which a lot of people seem to find off-putting. The Goop founder seems to like flaunting her wealth and materialistic things and makes it seem like it's something that everyone else has or can afford. For example, her Goop website's list of must-have clothing pieces and other things include things that cost hundreds if not thousands of dollars, which not a lot of people can relate to having. On top of that, she came from a wealthy family, so being someone who's always been rich, she doesn't really know how to humble herself around those who haven't been as fortunate as her. People also don't like how she comes across as self-centered, as she seems to always talk about herself and how fit she is and how great her lifestyle is. She also has a diva attitude. She's been known to slam Michelin star restaurants, and if you know what that means, then you know she's got an attitude to do something like that. And to make matters worse, she's been known to demand that people clean and dry the shower at the gym after someone's used it because she, quote, can't touch somebody else's shower water. Yeah. She just has a lot of diva energy and can come across as quite rude, so I can understand why not everyone wants to be her friend. At number 7, James Corden. A lot of people don't like James Corden. Celebrities and regular old Joes like you and me just can't seem to get along with the late night host, and there's a few reasons for this. Turns out that he's actually pretty mean in real life, and this persona that you see on TV is all just an elaborate ruse. In reality, James is arrogant, rude, and a huge diva. There are a bunch of stories that paint James as a mean person. Firstly, he was once part of a group of people who advocated for paying late night writers less money. Yeah, you heard that right. He's also been known to use a good old "do you know who I am" line quite a number of times, and he's even reportedly told someone that he could buy them if they didn't do what he wanted. There's a lot of problematic energy to unpack there, but that is a whole other video. On top of that, there's been incidents of fans catching James being mean to his wife and letting his temper get the best of him at times. A lot of people say that he only acts nice in order to butt kiss his way to the top, and he doesn't care who he takes down in the process. But I think people are starting to catch on to this ruse because more and more people are starting to dislike him. Just ask Twitter. At number 6, Amy Schumer. It seems like Amy Schumer doesn't really care about what people think of her. In a way that can be a good thing because you learn to live your life for yourself, But it can also give you an attitude and prevent you from thinking about your actions and how they can impact others. An example of this comes from an incident from back in 2018 where Amy full-on stole a comedian's stand-up set. Amy was at a comedy club and up on stage, an up-and-coming comedian was doing one of his first long sets, and obviously this was a pretty big deal for the guy until Amy ruined it. She walked into the venue and went to the manager to ask if she could steal 10 minutes of stage time because she wanted to practice her new set. Because the other comedian just started on stage, the manager said no, so Amy hit back with the "but I'm Amy Schumer." Like that's really gonna do something. After getting refusals left and right, she decided to take matters into her own hands and marched up on the stage and just took over his time for a few minutes. I know Amy is a big timer, but come on, you have to remember what it was like to be up and coming, and that kind of behavior is just rude. At number 5, Katherine Heigl. A lot of people don't like Katherine Heigl because of how rude she is. She's known in the film industry for being pretty mean and having a diva attitude. She's allegedly mean to people on set, has high demands, and just has a very bad overall attitude. She's known to be quite critical of her roles and the material that she's given to work with, and she even said this when she withdrew from the Emmy nominations because she said that the material she was given for Grey's Anatomy didn't warrant an Emmy. That is certainly disrespectful to the writers because for someone to say something like that implies that the writing wasn't good enough to please people, whereas the people at the Emmys thought it was worth an award. And on top of that, winning this kind of award looks good for the team, but Katherine obviously didn't think of that. She only thought about herself. The actress is known to make ridiculously high salary demands, and she's apparently been doing this since before she became a big name in the industry. She's reportedly hired and fired a lot of publicists and assistants over the years, so she really sounds like quite the diva and a horrible boss too. Because of all this, directors and Hollywood execs just don't want to work with her anymore, and honestly I can't really say that I blame them. At number 4, Michael Phelps. Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps is often referred to as the best swimmer of all time, but it seems like his aquatic skills are really the only thing he's got going for him, since apparently he's got a pretty bad attitude and is pretty rude in real life. Michael has done some bad stuff in his life, so people already don't think that highly of him as an individual. Back in 2014, he was arrested for driving under the influence, and speaking of under the influence, Phelps has also been caught with drugs before. Already, this isn't good for his image because being an Olympian, people have a lot of eyes on you. Phelps was reprimanded for his drunk driving and was suspended from swimming for 6 months, but other than that, this scandal was kept pretty under wraps. Now if only they could have put that much energy into Sha'Carri Richardson. On top of this swimmer being a felon, he's also known to not be a team player. Apparently he hides himself away from his other teammates when at competitions like the Olympics instead of being with his team to support them. You would think that being at something like the Olympics, you would want to soak up all that team spirit, but no. Michael wants nothing to do with his team and instead flies solo. Kind of mean if you ask me. At number 3, Jared Leto. You may like Jared Leto on screen, but off screen he's kind of a jerk. There's even a list online that tallies up all the reasons that make him a bad person. And if something like that exists, then you know something's up. Some of the reasons listed as to why Jared sucks so much include the fact that he's been caught being mean to fans, he's rude to reporters during interviews, and he's offended the trans community after winning an Oscar for his performance in Dallas Buyers Club and not mentioning the trans community in his speech, as well as undermining the struggles of the trans community after joking about his appearance in character. Jared has also admitted to lying during interviews whenever possible for absolutely no reason, and people found his Joker antics on the set of Suicide Squad to be a little mean because of the pranks that he would play on people as well as the gifts that he would send to the cast and crew. Most of the allegations against Jared and his attitude are pretty minor, but add them all up and you get someone that you might not necessarily enjoy having around. But what do you guys think? You still want to be his friend? At number 2, Christina Aguilera. Christina Aguilera may have the voice of an angel, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she is one. Turns out she has a bit of a dark side and a handful of people have experienced it. Other than being shady at Lady Gaga during their 2008 feud, where she called her some unpleasant names and said, quote, "I'm not quite sure who this person is, to be honest, I don't know if it's a man or a woman," end quote. She's also had some other rude encounters with more of her peers. When working on the set of her various gigs, she's reportedly always late, holds up production, and never apologizes for delaying production. She also reportedly has some beef with Adam Levine while working on The Voice, and they would bicker constantly. Christina is also known to be an absolute diva, and working with her seems to be a nightmare because sources say that she's very rude and demanding of her household staff and treats her staff poorly, insisting that they are on call 24/7. Christina also has had feuds with Pink, Mariah Carey, and even got mad at Mickey Mouse once. Yeah, she got into a heated argument with Mickey Mouse when she was at Disneyland in 2014 for her birthday. She wanted to take a picture with the mouse, but he was going on break, so instead of being an understanding person, she pulled the "Do you know who I am" card. I mean, how can you do that to Mickey? What did Mickey do? And finally, at number 1, Bruce Willis. Actor Bruce Willis has had a great career making great movies and basking in fame, but it seems as though he's not all that great in real life. Apparently, Bruce is a nightmare to work with, as he's gotten into a number of conflicts with others on set, and people just really hate working with him. Before Die Hard launched his film career, he was brought into stardom after working on the show Moonlighting alongside his co-star Sybil Shepherd. Back in 2005, Shepherd told sources that there came a point where her relationship with Bruce became really toxic and they clashed a lot on set. There was reportedly constant bickering and it was just a really bad working environment. But of course, Sybil isn't the only one to have clashed with Bruce while working together. Filmmaker Kevin Smith has also had his troubles working with Bruce while filming the 2010 film Cop Out. He told sources that though he once saw Bruce as his hero in past productions, that opinion completely went out the window, saying that working with Bruce was difficult. When speaking out about their time together on set, Kevin said, quote, "He turned out to be the unhappiest, most bitter, and meanest emo B-word I've ever met at any job I've held down, and mind you, I worked at Domino's Pizza. What an awful experience." End quote. Now I just wonder if something triggers this horrible behavior or if he's just always like this. Now before I wrap up the video, I want you guys to tell me who you think the meanest person in Hollywood is. Could be someone on this list or another horrible celebrity.
Number 10, Lea Michele. The actress who played the most arrogant character on Glee has recently been outed as being one of the meanest celebrities in Hollywood. The music TV series that helped Lea Michele rise to fame was also her undoing, as it looks like the horrible way she treated the cast and crew on set came back to bite her. Many of her peers, including actress Samantha Ware, spoke out against her behavior. She told Variety, quote, "It was after I did my first performance. That's when it started. The silent treatment, the stare downs, the looks, the comments under her breath, the weird passive aggressiveness, it all built up." After Samantha spoke out, dozens of co-stars, film crew, and staff flooded social media with stories about the diva. There were even reports of Michelle only speaking to people through her assistant and not acknowledging her co-star's presence. As expected, she came out and issued an apology, but people still haven't forgotten about her atrocious behavior. And when it was announced that she was replacing fellow actress Beanie Feldstein in the Broadway production of Funny Girl, fans were up in arms and some have even called for a boycott. Number 9, Mike Myers. His name is synonymous with the hilarious and charismatic character Austin Powers. However, the actor is reportedly completely different in real life, especially on set. There have been numerous reports suggesting that Myers is a nightmare to work with some even claiming him to be a control freak and grumpy. It has come to light that the actor makes tons of demands of his assistants. In fact, Myers reportedly made life a daily nightmare for the cast and crew of one of his biggest films. According to Amy Hill, who was his co-star in The Cat in the Hat, she said it was a horrible, nightmarish experience. Hill claimed that he selfishly kept everyone waiting for hours, overruled the director, and even had someone standing by just holding his personal chocolates in a dish. Quote, "It was so weird, it was just the worst, I was miserable." Another story involves a fan that offered to buy the actor a drink. After telling Myers how much he enjoyed his work, Myers allegedly just looked at him and said, "I can afford my own drinks," cursed at him, and said, "Save your money for my next movie." Ouch. Apart from being notoriously difficult to work with, his mean-spirited attitude towards regular people have shrunk his fan base down to a fraction of what it used to be. Number 8, Rachel Ray. The celebrity cook has a reputation for being a meanie. Many fans in her audience have reported that before filming her show, she often avoids speaking to them and appears cold and disinterested, and just looks like she would rather be somewhere else. But it's not just her fans. In fact, several famous chefs have publicly come out saying that they straight up don't like her, like Martha Stewart and the late Anthony Bourdain. Even members of Ray's own family have turned against her. In 2013, scandal broke out after Ray's aunt, Geraldine, tragically died while staying at Ray's house. But neither Ray nor her husband John showed up at the funeral. Instead, she was allegedly tweeting about cats, recipes, and TV shows, which led her cousin, Gina Mesnick, to speak out against her. Quote, "I found it very insensitive and inappropriate. It just shows how demeaning Rachel was to my family on the day we buried my mom after she died under such horrible circumstances." Her fan base is now practically non-existent. In fact, a good portion of the internet harbors a deep loathing for the chef. There's so many online forums dedicated to Rachel Ray slander. In fact, there's even a blog called Rachel Ray Sucks, and you can guess what kind of things people post on there. Number 7, Russell Crowe. The actor has had a reputation for being outright mean to both his Hollywood peers and his fans, making him an extremely controversial figure in the industry. I mean, where to start with Russell Crowe? There were rumors that he threatened any media platform that published stories about him having a fling with Courtney Love. But a great example of his overall attitude is when he intimidated and attacked the producer of the BAFTA Awards for cutting his speech short and preventing him from reciting poetry. In 2005, he was then charged with criminal possession of a weapon for allegedly throwing a phone and cutting a hotel clerk's eye, all because he was unable to get connected with his wife. One of the lesser talked about but worrying incidents involves Crowe and rapper Azealia Banks. Crowe forcibly removed her from a party he was hosting. Not only that, but he was said to have been violent and allegedly spat on her and used racist language. The Australian actor is also notoriously difficult to work with and is known for regularly shouting at his scriptwriters, yelling at them on phone calls while discussing the story. So it's safe to say that he lost not only film roles but a lot of fans due to his outright nastiness. Number 6, Jared Leto. The actor and singer really seemed to be getting a lot of backlash in recent years, especially in the era of the Me Too movement. It seemed that out of his fellow Hollywood celebrities, not everyone was willing to be silent when they heard he was behaving inappropriately towards young women. In 2018, Suit Life of Zack and Cody star Dylan Sprouse came forward on Twitter and brought disturbing allegations against him to light. Quote, "Yo, Jared Leto, now that you've slid into the DMs of every female model aged 18 to 25, what would you say your success rate is?" As you would have predicted, the tweet totally blew up and many people were happy that he was finally getting called out. The situation quickly escalated when Guardians of the Galaxy director James Gunn tweeted the following as an answer to Sprouse's initial tweet. Quote, "He starts at 18 on the internet? Aside from predatory behavior, Leto has treated his fans horribly and was seen on occasion randomly giving the finger to audience members. As a result, he really doesn't have many mainstream fans left, save for the fans of his cult/band 30 Seconds to Mars." Number 5, Ellen DeGeneres. She was one of the most popular talk show hosts in the world only a few years ago, with fans across the globe. But all that came crashing down for Ellen DeGeneres when she was exposed for being ruthless to her employees when the cameras weren't rolling, and just a downright mean-spirited person. Her motto was ironically, "Be kind," and that completely backfired on her when former employees started coming forward with their Ellen horror stories. In a BuzzFeed article, the comedian was labeled a bully and named as the culprit for creating a toxic work environment by one current and 10 former employees who anonymously gave their true thoughts about her in the article. They essentially confirmed what up until then had only been rumors, with one TV writer claiming that Ellen required anyone who talks to her at work to chew gum from a bowl outside of her office first, and that she would frequently send staff home to shower if she thought that they smelled bad. While the accusations haven't hurt her bank balance, Ellen's image has been tarnished forever, and you'd have to search the internet for days to find anyone that still supports her. Number 4, Catherine Zeta-Jones. You wouldn't think the actress was someone with a bad attitude, but it appears that's exactly what she has. The most famous story about her happened way back in 1998 when an 8-year-old girl was attending a special screening of The Mask of Zorro. She went up to Catherine Zeta-Jones and asked her for some advice on acting, as that is the career path that she wanted to follow. Catherine allegedly looked her up and down and said sarcastically, "You're pretty enough, I suppose," before turning back to her conversation. Not to mention what she said in 2018, which really highlighted how she perceives herself. Quote, "I'm sick of being humble, I really am. Sorry I'm rich, so sorry I'm married to a movie star, so sorry I'm not so bad looking." In fact, according to Page 6, the actress regularly sings her own praises and brags about how much money she has compared to other people. In 2003, she was quoted saying, "$1 million isn't a lot of money for people like us." I mean, if that wasn't enough, she said, quote, "Some people collect art or lots of money. We collect houses because if we have to look at something, we prefer the view. too. Yeah, most people were not jumping to support the actress with a track record of saying things like that. Number 3, Katherine Heigl. Television medical drama Grey's Anatomy catapulted Katherine Heigl into the limelight. The thing is, she has a reputation of being extremely unpleasant to work with, and after trashing her most popular movie ever, she lost a whole bunch of fans. I'm talking about 2007's Knocked Up. It was not just hilarious, but very well received all round, scoring an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes and bringing in $219 million at the box office against a $25 million budget. But Katherine was less than thrilled about her participation in the movie and called the film sexist, telling Vanity Fair in 2008 that she thought the movie, quote, paints women as shrews, as humorless and uptight. It paints the men as lovable, goofy, fun-loving guys. She went on to say that she had a hard time with the film on some days because she said that her character was a B-word and a killjoy. Not only that, but Heigl's bad reputation stems largely from her decision to decline a second Emmy nomination for Grey's Anatomy in 2008. She released a cringy public statement that claimed she simply wasn't given the material this season to warrant an Emmy nomination. Talk about biting the hand that feeds you. Number 2, Jamie Lynn Spears. Someone that has lost all support from what little fan base she had to begin with is Jamie Lynn Spears. She's known pretty much as the younger sibling of Britney Spears, but she didn't exactly hide long in her sister's shadow before entering the limelight. Although she made a few appearances in film and television as a child, she didn't receive star status until landing the lead role as Zoe Brooks on the Nickelodeon show Zoe 101. After 3 years on the very popular show, the then 16-year-old announced that she was pregnant, effectively ending her role and putting her acting career on hiatus. But people dislike the star because of the horrific way she has treated her sister over the years. In fact, fans of Britney have heavily criticized Jamie Lynn for an apparent lack of support during her sister's 14-year-long conservatorship. In fact, the former actress has been accused of trying to steal Britney's fortune, fighting against the movement to free her from her conservatorship, and writing tell-all books to try and profit off of her sister's name while trying to make her look bad. With Britney now finally able to speak up for herself and reportedly working on her own memoir, it will probably result in even more exposure of Jamie Lynn's horrific behavior. Number 1, Faye Dunaway. Once called the worst person in Hollywood by Bette Davis, the Academy Award winner is no doubt one of the meanest people in the industry. In 2019, she was actually fired from the Broadway production of Tea at 5 because of bizarre behavior which included hurling objects at crew members and slapping her wig-fitting team, throwing salad on the floor, and even insisting that no one wear white to rehearsal because it's distracting. That's not all. In fact, she reportedly shrieks at service industry employees and thinks that her plane tickets should be upgraded as a matter of principle. A flight attendant once claimed Dunaway was screaming at everyone, saying, "Don't you know who I am?" And while filming Chinatown, the actor once reportedly threw a cup of urine on director Roman Polanski because he wouldn't let her use the restroom. In 2019, she was also sued by her former personal assistant, who claimed that she regularly and relentlessly subjected him to, quote, demeaning tirades, and used his sexual orientation as a gay man against him. And according to an insider, Dunaway was so demonic on the set of Mummy Dearest that no one dared to approach her for fear of being verbally attacked. So it's not surprising that she no longer has many fans left at all. Number 10, Jay-Z. Yes, it's true that he's a famous rapper with a stellar career that made millions and millions of dollars, and the fact that he's married to Beyonce is definitely something to brag about. With all that considered, anyone would be cocky, but Jay-Z takes it to a whole other level. In fact, his arrogance was at an all-time high in 2013, when he was heavily criticized by social activist Harry Belafonte and other prominent figures in the black community for what they believe is a lack of social responsibility. He responded in literally the worst way possible, quote, "I'm offended by that because, first of all, and this is gonna sound arrogant, but my presence is charity, just who I am, just like Obama's is." He went on to say that Obama provides hope, whether he does anything. The hope that he provides for a nation and outside of America is enough. So basically, he says that he's doing the same thing just by being famous. Not only that, but in 2012, Jay-Z dissed Robert De Niro, who was apparently a big fan of his music. The actor reportedly called Jay-Z 6 times to work with him and received a grand total of 0 calls back. De Niro then verbally confronted Jay-Z about the situation and said, "It doesn't matter who you are, if someone calls you 6 times, you call them back. It doesn't matter who you are. That is just rude." Number 9, Gwyneth Paltrow. Paltrow. She's one of those celebrities that really need to be humbled. Even before trying to be some kind of lifestyle guru, she made it clear a long time ago just how out of touch she is with regular people. She once made an entire population of working mothers angry when she said, quote, "It's much harder for me. I think to have a regular job and to be a mom is not as, of course there are challenges, but it's not like being on set." Not only that, but in 2009, she was quoted saying, "I am who I am. I can't pretend to be somebody who makes $25,000 a year." Even earlier in 2006, she trash-talked Reese Witherspoon's career. Quote, "Why is she doing these stupid romantic comedies? But of course it's for money and status." And let's not forget all the drama with the Goop Lab, which is just another way for Paltrow to push her so-called healthy lifestyle onto regular people, where she posts must-have outfits that cost hundreds if not thousands of dollars and tries to frame it as a necessity. Her website was also heavily criticized for promoting questionable things like sprays and crystals that are meant to prevent mental manipulation by people, not to mention potentially dangerous supplements that were marketed to pregnant women. So it's no surprise that she earned the top spot in Star's 2013 Most Hated Celebrity list. Number 8. Jennifer Lopez. JLo's reputation as a diva precedes her, and over the years it's become blaringly obvious that she is not at all down to earth. She didn't hold back when it came to her opinion on sharing the stage with Shakira at the 2020 Super Bowl halftime show. In her newly released documentary called Halftime, she labeled it as the worst idea in the world. Quote, "If it was going to be a double headliner, they should have given us 20 minutes. That's what they should have effing done." Basically, it turns out that Jennifer was frustrated with the NFL for booking 2 headliners and making them share the stage at the same time. She's also notorious for refusing to talk to certain people, like in 2012 when she got a hotel maid fired for asking for her signature, or when she was on a commercial airline and a flight attendant asked JLo what she wanted to drink, and rather than telling the attendant, she turned to her assistant to have them relay the drink order. Let's also mention the infamous Movie Line interview in 1998, when she basically decided to trash all the other celebrities that were big at the time and try to trivialize their career. When asked about Madonna, she said, quote, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do. So I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, and I'm like, no, don't spit on my craft." Number 7. Justin Bieber. In the beginning of his career as a young teen, Bieber seemed to be extremely humble and kind, but as his fame grew, so did his attitude and lack of human decency. He took his apparent belief that he is a one-of-a-kind way beyond his position in the music industry, like when Bieber said that he hoped Anne Frank would have been a believer. The once teenage heartthrob shocked the internet in 2013 when he was in Amsterdam visiting the hiding place of the young victim, which has since been turned into a museum. The Canadian pop star opened himself up to ridicule and online anger when he wrote in the Anne Frank House guest book that it was truly inspiring to be able to come here and that Anne was a great girl. Hopefully she would have been a believer. The comments were insensitive at best, as it sounded like he believed Anne Frank would have been his devoted fan. Not only that, but he's also thought of himself above the law on several occasions and is known for his atrocious behavior in public. He's been in trouble with the cops for graffiti spraying, egg throwing, smoking, and causing disturbances to his neighbors, just to name a few. In a 2013 Billboard interview, Bieber said, quote, "Don't say I'm not talented. If you haven't noticed, I wasn't made, I was found." Yeah, okay. Number 6. Adam Levine. There is no denying Adam Levine's sex symbol status, but for that exact same reason, he has also been labeled a bit too cocky for his own good. In fact, just last year, a TikTok went viral of Adam going off on a fan for coming on stage. The incident happened during a Maroon 5 performance when he was belting out the band's 2004 hit Sunday Morning, and an overly eager fan suddenly rushed to the stage and reached for him. The video shows that security quickly grabbed the woman and pulled her away from Adam, who was then seen cursing, shuddering, and shaking off the experience before getting back into the music. Many were offended by his visceral reaction, suggesting that he should humble himself. And remember, the band is only successful because of its fans. But back in a 2014 interview with GQ magazine, the singer addressed his reputation as a bit of an egomaniac. Quote, "I'm not arrogant, I'm cocky. It's different. Cocky is playful." Others would certainly beg to differ. But if you want to know what was really obnoxious, let's look at his tone-deaf comments about infidelity in 2009, when he said, "I have cheated, and you know what? There is nothing worse than the feeling of doing it." So apparently it's not hard for the people that are getting cheated on, only the people that are doing the cheating. Number 5, Kim Kardashian. The Keeping Up with the Kardashian star was never really one to be humble. In fact, she's known to be obnoxious and what some would call everything that's wrong with celebrity culture these days. She is totally obsessed with her appearance, and fans have seen her complain about not being skinny enough or fashionable enough for years on her show. So no one was really surprised when in 2015 she published a book containing only her selfies, which certainly speaks to how confident she is that people would want to buy 1,000 photos of her face. Or in 2011, when Old Navy released a series of ads featuring a brunette woman that looked ever so slightly similar to Kim, so she sued the company for millions of dollars. She believed that they capitalized on her look and caused serious damage to her career, which caused her to lose somewhere in the range of $15 to $20 million. Not to mention when she tried to break into the music industry in 2011 with her one and only song that was called Jam Turn It Up. Let's just say that it was a flop, but the music video was comedy gold. It's really no wonder that she's known as the most conceited of the Kardashians. Number 4, Kanye West. There are approximately over 100,000 ridiculous Kanye West quotes on why he thinks that he's so great. So much so that these days he's more known for his erratic behavior and strange comments rather than for his music and fashion endeavors. Like at the 2009 MTV Video Music Awards, when he infamously interrupted Taylor Swift's acceptance speech for Best Female Video. Kanye jumped on stage and took over the mic, declaring that Beyoncé had one of the best videos of all time. And it wasn't just a heat of the moment thing, he seemed to be genuinely okay with interrupting another person's acceptance speech because a whole decade later, he told Nick Cannon, quote, "If God didn't want me to run up on stage and say, Beyoncé had the best video, he wouldn't have sat me in the front row." Apart from that, one of the cockiest things he's ever said was, quote, "For me, I am a creative genius. There's no other way to word it." He's also compared himself to Shakespeare, Andy Warhol, and Tupac. In fact, he once said, "I'm my own favorite rapper," and that his greatest pain in life is that he will never be able to see himself perform live. Wow. Number 3, Russell Crowe. The actor has long been the poster boy for arrogant Hollywood types, blokey swearing, and random acts of PG violence. There were rumors that he threatened any media platform that published stories about him having a fling with Courtney Love, and some say that he chose to have a bodyguard accompany him into public toilets to ensure that no one else enters while he was there. But one of the wildest displays of his arrogance was in 2002, when he intimidated and attacked the producer of the BAFTA Awards for cutting his speech short and preventing him from reciting poetry to the world. Around this time, Crowe appeared to be maxing out on his obnoxious troublemaking, and in 2004 he beat up his own bodyguard because he insinuated that the actor had had enough to drink. Then only a year later, he was charged with criminal possession of a weapon for allegedly throwing a phone that cut a hotel clerk's eye, all because he was unable to get connected with his wife. The Australian actor is also notoriously difficult to work with and has been described as having a legendarily bad temper, regularly shouting at his scriptwriters, yelling at them on phone calls while discussing the story. In fact, while filming Gladiator, Crowe allegedly threatened a seasoned producer and said that he would kill him with his bare hands because he is annoying the hell out of him. Number 2, Lea Michele. She has recently made headlines for replacing fellow actress Beanie Feldstein in the Broadway production of Funny Girl, and fans are fuming. They have good reason to be upset because Lea Michele is the complete opposite of humble. In fact, the actress is still being plagued by multiple allegations of racism and bullying that surfaced in June of 2020. According to actors that worked with her on the set of Glee, she was an extremely spoiled and hateful person. While only rumors circulated about her demeanor before, everything changed when the actress tweeted her support for Black Lives Matter, and her former co-star Samantha Ware called her out out on her hypocrisy. After Samantha spoke out, dozens of co-stars, film crew, and staff flooded social media with stories about the diva. In fact, one Twitter user shared an instance when she worked with Michelle and the late Corey Monteith. Quote, "I've been telling people this for years. I worked with her once. She literally would only speak to me through her assistant, just not addressing my presence. She was 2 feet away. Corey was kind and incredibly lovely to work with." So it's safe to say that her real-life personality matched up with her arrogant on-screen persona as Rachel Berry. And number 1, Shia LaBeouf. Never a stranger to acting out bad behavior or questionable choices, Shia LaBeouf's antics have given him a reputation for being one of the most obnoxious actors that Hollywood has ever produced. One perfect example of this was when the Transformers actor tried his hand at directing and came out with his very own short film called Howard Cantor, which was shown at Cannes in May 2012 and received significant acclaim and praise from critics everywhere. But what people didn't realize is that he literally stole the whole script and tried to claim it off as his own. The script was published online in late 2013, and comic fans noticed that the story was copied pretty much word for word from a book by Daniel Close, without credit, consent, or even compensation. To make matters worse, when confronted about it, Shia apologized and then later revealed to have plagiarized all of his apologies from other people. Only a few weeks later, as a publicity stunt to gain attention, he declared that he was retiring from his persona as a celebrity and started appearing in public wearing a paper bag on his head with the words "I am not famous anymore" written on it.
And at number 10, we have Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase has had so many bad interactions with people over the years, we truly just do not have the time to name them all. One story came from comedian Rob Huebel, who was so excited to meet the star. However, when Huebel approached him and tried to talk to Chevy Chase responded by slapping him in the face, then saying, quote, "Can't you see I'm talking to someone, kid?" Excuse me, what? Slapping someone because they tried to talk to you? Chevy is also the only former SNL cast member that is banned from the show because he slapped cast member Cherry O'Terry while he was guest hosting in 1997. He was also known at SNL for being very insensitive with his jokes, basically insulting anyone and everyone. According to the book Saturday Night, A Backstage History of Saturday Night Live, Chevy was a, quote, viciously effective put-down artist, the sort who could find the one thing somebody was sensitive about, a pimple on the nose, perhaps. Definitely not the vibe I was picking up from watching his movies. And at number 9, James Corden. Late night host James Corden seems like a sweetheart on TV, and he's beloved by many around the world because of this. But his reputation off camera is quite the opposite. And he's actually known to be awful to staff on set and even fans too. His reputation has gotten so bad that when he did a Reddit AMA back in 2019, tons of people used the thread to share their terrible interactions with Corden. One user reminded everyone about the time that Corden showed up to a private Writers Guild meeting to advocate for lower pay for TV writers, even though they're known for being paid pretty low wages already. Another spoke about how they saw the movie A League of Their Own being filmed, and during the filming they saw Corden throw multiple tantrums over minor things. The last person said that they had tea on all the late night hosts, including Corden, saying that James Corden is known as an among writers and Jimmy Fallon is an alcoholic. However, Jimmy Kimmel is actually a good guy apparently, according to this Reddit user. All in all, it seems like Corden's a nice guy act is all fake. And at number 8, Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts is another actress who has a pretty good reputation in the media. However, tons of people on Reddit expose that she's actually mean in real life. One of the commenters claimed that they had worked with her on a photo shoot, and apparently the whole time she was basically screaming at everyone. And apparently it's a well-known thing that when cameras are not rolling, she is terrible on set. Another popular rumor is that the cast of the set of the movie Hook hated her so much, her nickname was, quote, Tinkerhell. However, to her credit, she had just ended her engagement with fellow actor Kiefer Sutherland after learning that he was cheating on her. Apparently, Roberts decided to not give herself a break after the split and started filming Hook days later. And even though there were rumors that director Steven Spielberg hated working with her on that movie, he also came to her defense when asked about her behavior. He said, quote, Julia probably went through the most trying times of her life, and it was simply bad timing for all of us that she happened to start on Hook at that low point. And at number 7, Mike Myers. This one breaks my heart, but the comedy legend is actually really terrible in real life. He's known for being mean to colleagues, fans, and his personal assistants. In an interview with the AV Club, Mike Myers' Cat in the Hat co-star Amy Hill shed some light on how bad he can be on set. Apparently he hired an assistant, and their entire job was to follow him around all day and feed him chocolate from a Tupperware container when he wanted it. She also exposed that he was a diva, making everyone wait around for him, as well as micromanaging everyone on set. The director of Wayne's World, Penelope Spheris, is another colleague that had some choice words to say about Myers. She called him, quote, emotionally needy, and saying that he, quote, got more difficult as the shoot went along. And at number 6, Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock is another star that has shocked people with just how mean she can be in real life. When fans have had the chance to meet her in real life, they might be expecting to see warm characters like her role in The Blind Side. But that's not the case. A former fan named Denise Coates told Star Magazine in 2012 about a run-in with Bullock. Apparently her and her husband, who is a veteran in a wheelchair, were out for a walk, and the couple ran into her during the filming break. Apparently the couple asked for an autograph, but things did not go well. Denise said, quote, Sandra was so rude. She covered her face and yelled. He just wanted an autograph, and she actually yelled at him. Now I understand not having the time to greet fans and how annoying it probably is to be hounded, but like a single wheelchair-bound veteran and his wife, in what world is their polite request for an autograph warrant a yelling match? You know, we don't know the full story, but that one's pretty bad. Halfway number 5, Jon Hamm. So this one is extra juicy because it involves one celebrity calling out another. In this case, Kathy Griffin called out Jon Hamm for being rude to her at a party. In her memoir, comedian Kathy Griffin shared a story about Jon Hamm confronting her at a party, brutally asking her who invited her. He even went on to make comments about her, quote, failed career and mocked her age. At the dinner, she was speaking with Jack Nicholson when Hamm came up to her and asked her, quote, what are you doing here? Then she replied, quote, I earned my seat at the table. What are you doing here? Kathy said that Jon continued to get drunk as she was discussing Rupert Murdoch with Jack, where she continued saying, quote, Hammy picks that moment to start whispering boozy yammering into my ear. First it was him saying, you know your Emmy isn't a real Emmy. I let that one go. But he whispered, you're so old. And Kathy admitted it was not only the rude comments that pissed her off, but the fact that he was interrupting some precious time alone with Jack Nicholson. And honestly, I just have no idea how Jon Hamm could make those comments and not think that Kathy Griffin was gonna blast him for it. And at number 4, Catherine Zeta-Jones. Catherine Zeta-Jones gained a reputation as a mean girl after it was revealed that she made some questionable comments to a young fan. Allegedly, when an 8-year-old fan told Zeta-Jones that she wanted to become an actress, the fan was left completely devastated. The girl recalled the awkward moment years later, saying, quote, she turned to me, looked up and down and said, quote, you're pretty enough, I suppose, then went back to her conversation. I went from feeling at ease in the world to constantly thinking about how everyone was judging me on my appearance. But that's not the only comment that has gotten Zeta-Jones backlash. In one interview with The Mirror, she said, quote, I'm sick of being humbled. I really am. Sorry I'm rich. Sorry I'm married to a movie star. Sorry I'm not so bad looking. And based on those comments, I'm definitely sensing some mean girl energy. And at number 3, Katherine Heigl. Katherine Heigl quickly became one of Hollywood's most beloved stars, but she ended up earning herself a bad reputation just as fast. She first became a household name on the show Grey's Anatomy, but she burned bridges with the show in 2008 when she actually pulled her name out of contention for an Emmy Award after being nominated. Heigl said in a statement, quote, I did not feel that I was given the material this season to warrant an Emmy nomination, and in an effort to maintain the integrity of the Academy organization, I withdrew my name from contention. But of course, fans of the show, as well as creator and writer Shonda Rhimes, were not pleased, and quickly found a reason to write Heigl off the show. Heigl got some more bad press after she decided to badmouth one of her own movies, Knocked Up, in a 2007 cover interview with Vanity Fair. After a string of bad PR, she was essentially blacklisted from Hollywood. And at number 2, Jesse Eisenberg. Jesse Eisenberg earned a bad reputation after he was interviewed by journalist Romina Puga and came off very rude, belittling her throughout. During their conversation, Eisenberg made tons of digs at Puga, like making fun of her interview style, joking that she had questions written on her hand, and joking that she was on his time when she joked that he should hurry up. During the interview, it seemed like there was a potential their banter was actually playful flirting, but Puga revealed later that she was hurt by the interview and his belittling comments, while Eisenberg felt that she found his dry humor amusing. Eisenberg said after, quote, I remember she was laughing. Even after she left, I said to people in the room, what a relief. Like that was the most funny, interesting interview I'd had all day. So his rudeness could just be summed up to miscommunication. And at number 1, Ellen DeGeneres. Of course, I could not make this list without including the current queen of mean, Ellen. Ellen's fall from niceness all started when one of DeGeneres' former employees, Kevin T. Porter, tweeted out that Ellen was, quote, notoriously one of the meanest people alive. And the replies of the tweet shared tons of negative interactions that people had with Ellen over the years. This sparked a whole wave of exposing, and not only of Ellen, but her show as well. And it was revealed that her show had a toxic work environment, and her staff were verbally berated constantly. There were even reports of inappropriate conduct by high-level producers of the show. So that's all for the list. Please let me know your comments below, and was there anyone that I missed?
Number 10, Taylor Swift. Taylor's tyranny of torment must end now. Taylor Swift has made a name for herself as a person who thrives on the ending of a relationship. Since the late 2000s, Taylor has been making millions in the music industry. Her songs like Love Story and 22 are anthems to many. The catchy tunes tend to come from a place of so-called heartache, however. Taylor has thanked her exes on several occasions for inspiring the songs that made her who she is today. People like Tom Hiddleston, Harry Styles, Jake Gyllenhaal all have had a part to play in the inception of some bops. The argument can and should be made that Taylor needs to just chill already. She's made several songs that were good without the need to berate an ex, and some of those songs that are about exes are revealing. Imagine if after every breakup you've ever had, a song just pops up on your phone by U2 called Why They Left You. Number 9, Chris Pratt. Maybe you know him. Star-Lord. Chris Pratt has had a massive, successful career since first starring as the lovable Andy Dwyer on the hit mockumentary series Parks and Recreation. Since then, he starred in blockbuster giants like the Jurassic Park trilogy, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and he's even the voice of Mario now. This guy is unstoppable. Well, hopefully that's not true. You see, Chris was almost a part of the infamous Me Too movement, but he somehow escaped our radar. In 2013, Chris was involved with an organization called the Hillsong Church. This megachurch is known for being notoriously anti-LGBTQ+. The church's former leader, Brian Houston, actually went public with their stupid, idiotic, and just wrong beliefs, but we don't need to get into that. While it was only ever rumored that he was involved with the controversial group, it was confirmed by his ex-wife and fellow actor Anna Faris he certainly wasn't against their beliefs. She claimed that Chris didn't deny specifically being involved with the church until 2022 because he didn't want to throw a church under the bus. Hey man, they might have done some pretty shady stuff, so why don't you just toss them under that bus as hard as you can? Number 8, Ariana Grande. She's got one less problem without you, and honestly we'd probably be fine without her too. Ariana rose to fame on the hit Nick series Victorious before spinning off and becoming a pop singing sensation. While she may be a good girl and good impressionist on screen, just ask Jimmy Fallon, behind the scenes she's reportedly cold, quiet, and much like Taylor Swift, she just hates on her exes through song. When she broke up with Saturday Night Live alumni Pete Davidson, she released a song called Pete Davidson, blatantly singing about and trashing her ex-fiance. The song made her a lot of money, which Pete received nothing of. So hey man, if you're gonna trash someone, at least give them a little bit of the cheddar, you know? On top of this, her behavior in general has just been chaotic. She once left a meet and greet because she didn't like the way that the photos were turning out. Those people paid hundreds of dollars and she was just like, thank you, next. In 2015, a video surfaced of Ariana visiting a California donut shop, and the owners were beyond excited to see her until she started licking donuts and putting them back on the shelves. According to the shop owners, those donuts were never paid for and they actually had to be thrown away, but come on, they really should have preserved some of those and sold them online because hey, people are weird. This incident alone got her nixed from performing at a White House event despite multiple public apologies. The darkest of stories though comes from a Hollywood insider that has not been confirmed to be 100% true, but it might be. The man in question was working with Ariana at a signing event. She was all smiles until the event was over and they entered the elevator. According to them, her first words as the doors closed were, "I hope they all frickin' perish." Well, kinda makes you realize why Nick stars aren't as popular when they're adults. Number 7, Russell Crowe. The Gladiator star and newest addition to the world of mythology in the MCU, playing Zeus, Russell has had a steady career filled with blockbuster paychecks and fans galore. But according to several sources, the Pope's exorcist has quite the temper. In 2005, he made headlines for throwing a cell phone at a Mercer Hotel employee in New York City. Apparently he found out that it was broken and he threw it without looking, and it exploded on impact. That incident ended up being taken a bit far, but that was not the only example of his escapades. In 2016, he returned to the media circuit, this time facing charges of alleged violence towards rapper Azalea Banks. That dissolved into a he said she said situation that was settled outside of court. Crow has also made a mess on set in his early days. A producer on the film Gladiator claims that Crow became furious and violent when he discovered just how much the producer's assistant was being paid. The situation forced the producer, Bronco Lustig, to quit the production. While many fans loved Crow in Gladiator, the people on set, that's a different story entirely. His career is slowly on the decline, so who knows, maybe he'll throw a phone at someone that he shouldn't and finally get cancelled for good. Number 6. Rihanna. According to some of her fans, Rihanna's a rude lady. Fans shared their story of a co-worker who experienced firsthand just how cold Rihanna can be. They told insiders that they won free tickets and backstage passes from a radio concert. When it came time for the co-worker and her kids to meet Rihanna, she was sitting at her makeup booth and refused to face them. When the young fans asked if they could get her autograph, she instructed a nearby backup dancer to just forge a signature before shooing them away. Oh, well, you want my signature? Okay. Bye. Go. Get someone else to do it. I'm too busy. In 2016, she further added fuel to the fire when she shared a photo of a young fan wearing a dress inspired by Rihanna's Wile E. Coyote-themed costume that she had worn at an awards show a few years prior. She wrote, "Dark thought rises" with the hashtag #PromBat. She shared that post with millions of people, alienating countless fans and ruining one fan's prom memories for the rest of their lives. By the way, I looked it up. If someone calls you a thought, kick them as hard as you can in the worst place that you can find. Fans may have turned on her, but she has yet to be officially canceled, so I don't know, she really needs to be, so let's get on that. Number 5. Tom Cruise. While Tom may be an action movie star and was once a young Hollywood heartthrob, he's got a massive temper since day one. According to both former assistants as well as several co-stars from Tom's past, Cruise is a regular toddler and is known to throw tantrums, being set off by the smallest thing. His former manager, Eileen Berlin, presented Tom with a gift on his 19th birthday. She gave him an album of teen magazine articles written about him, and apparently that set him off. He told his manager that he considered himself an adult, not a teen idol, and threw the book right in her face. Another example of Tom's aggression was on display during the filming of his recent Top Gun sequel, Maverick. During the time, Tom and the rest of the film crew were tasked to shoot on an actual aircraft carrier, still in use by the US military. One of the crew posted on Twitter calling out the audacity of Tom's behavior. They tweeted, "Tom Cruise was really on our ship telling people not to talk or even look at him." After a few choice words, the crewmate made it very clear that Tom was not welcome aboard their vessel. These are just 2 examples though. Tom has blown up on film crews several times in the past, to the point where his Mission Impossible 2 co-star was constantly scared of Tom on set and what he may freak out about next. This dude's still making movies though, so hey Hollywood, kick him out and cancel him please, it's time. Number 4. Jared Leto. Jared Leto is an interesting fella. He started his own religious group, he brings a new meaning to the word method acting, and let's just face it, this guy sucks. Over the past few years, reports from Jared's fellow actors are anything but positive. During his time as the Joker, he left his fellow castmates used adult devices, pig heads, and live snakes in their trailers as so-called gifts. He was trying to stay method as the Joker, but anyone on the receiving end of that gift, well, probably wished that he would just chill out. On top of that, he's been known to stay in character, meaning that if he's playing someone angry or silent, well, that's how he's gonna be the entire time. This guy hasn't really been questioned for his actions at any point in recent history, only ever being called a weirdo and just kind of leaving it at that. With his career still well on the rise, here's hoping that Jared will eventually be called out for good and added to Hollywood's do not hire list. Number 3. Jon Hamm. The Madman star doesn't just look like your typical college jock. Turns out he actually was one in the early 90s. Jon took part in a hazing incident at the University of Texas in 1991 that led to Jon receiving criminal charges. The lawsuit was filed by a member of the Fraternal Society organization who claims to have been severely injured, dragged by a hammer, and had his pants set on fire. The person also claims that Jon was involved until, quote, the very end. Criminal records show that Jon was charged for this incident at the time, receiving probation and an official charge of hazing. He participated in all the classic hazing activities, some good, but mostly just downright degrading. While this took place way back when, Jon's role roles, combined with his supposed cold shoulder default towards his fellow co-stars, has landed him on the must-cancel list. Number 2, Morgan Freeman. The voice of God himself, Morgan Freeman has been a soothing soul for many, many years. To this day, families can hear Morgan narrate the world around them in an immersive 360 IMAX screen at the Science Center in Toronto. He may be a comfort to some, but according to a few women, Morgan is their nightmare. Morgan has been accused of inappropriate behavior on multiple occasions between 1991 and 2015. According to one production assistant from the film Going in Style, which is a bank heist movie starring Freeman, Michael Caine, and Alan Arkin, Morgan subjected her to unwanted touching and comments about her figure and clothing on a near daily basis. Lend me your ear. This move is rarely received well. Get yourself a new move, or better yet, don't have a move. Just walk up and say hi and show her your Beanie Baby collection. Be normal. According to her, in one instance, Freeman attempted to lift her skirt and asked to see her underclothes. She was not the only one to speak out, however. A senior member of production staff on the movie Now You See Me 2 told CNN that Freeman harassed her and her female assistant on numerous occasions, making similar comments on figure and clothes. I could go on and on with more and more examples, but just to save some time and boil it down for you, Morgan Freeman is creepy, and I'm sorry to say, but this guy needs to retire for good as soon as possible. And at number 1, at number 1, it's Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle dominated the comedy scene in the 1990s and early 2000s. His stand-up was considered to be the most gut-busting and entertaining around, and his role in films like The Nutty Professor, Robin Hood Men in Tights, and the cult classic Half-Baked, he took a bit of a break from starring in films to focus on his family and his true passion, stand-up comedy. Despite being on stage for over 12 years though, Dave never really learned to follow suit with the times. There were certain topics that just became rude to joke about, and many jokes considered to be funny in the 80s and 90s have not aged well. Unfortunately, that seems to be all the material that Dave has. In one of his most recent Netflix specials, he made jokes aimed at the LGBTQ+ community. Jokes that are not worth quoting or repeating or googling, just none of it. They were rough enough to have Dave's fans turn on him immediately. While he was canceled by his fans, Netflix actually defended the comedian, claiming he had artistic freedom even after a group of Netflix employees and transgender advocates staged a virtual walkout. The co-CEO Ted Sarandos, who released the statement, later admitted that he handled the situation poorly. Oh, did you, Ted? Did you accidentally defend a man who was making fun of gay people? Oh gosh darn it, oopsie doopsies. The fact that this man is still allowed to make money off of his specials or even perform in general has the number 1 spot of we should cancel him.
Coming in number 10 today, we have Megan Fox. Back in 2009, Transformers star Megan Fox would be branded as dumb, ungracious, rude, and an unbearable actress by crew members of the multi-million-dollar film franchise. As soon as the actor came out to diss the director, Michael Bay, by claiming that he objectified her on the set, the furious crew members who have stayed anonymous would post a long open letter to Megan on the director's official website and signed it as the loyal Transformers crew. In it, they tore into Megan as they labeled her as a second-rate Angelina Jolie who was disliked across the set by her diva-like behavior. The letter has since been removed from the site, but not before thousands of fans saw it. In the letter, the crew would claim that Michael made Megan the next Angelina Jolie, but as time went on, the crew noticed that she was no Angelina because Angelina was professional and Megan was as dumb as a rock in both Transformers movies. The crew also went on to call her the grump of the set and claim that she was the most ungracious person anyone could ever fathom. While the crew tried to welcome her, she just became really rude and later twisted the story when she was fired from the set for her poor behavior. Coming in number 9, we have Tom Cruise. Since 2019, film sets have had some pretty strict guidelines to protect everyone working on the set. And while many people were stuck inside, the entertainment industry was the only thing keeping people's hopes and spirits alive. So it was pretty understandable when Tom Cruise caught members of the Mission Impossible 7 set messing around. He expressed his frustrations, but the way he chose to do it was a little out there and really improper. As first reported by The Sun, after Cruise saw 2 of the members standing too close to one another in front of a computer screen, he told the crew, "If I see you do it again, you're effing gone." In the audio obtained by The Sun, Cruise could be heard saying, "We are the gold standard. They're back there in Hollywood making movies right now because of us, because they believe in us and what we're doing. I'm on the phone with every effing studio at night, insurance companies, producers, and they're looking at us and using us to make their movies. We are creating thousands of jobs, you mother effers. I don't ever want to see it again, ever." Cruise took the 2019 situation seriously, and that's why he was so strict about enforcing the
guidelines on set and scowled the crew for taking advantage of the safe environment that the team in place helped create. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Number 8, Lea Michele. It seems like Lea Michele was such a complete diva on the set of Glee that she had zero respect when it came to her cast and crew members. The actor who has been at the center of racism after she was called out by former co-star Samantha Ware on Twitter, Ima Edwards, who was featured in the 6th season on the series, then come out to say that she heard from multiple people that Lea called extras cockroaches behind the scenes. While Lea went on to treat many of her co-stars and crew members poorly, they would even describe working with Lea was like working in their own personal hell, and it really made them question their jobs in the entertainment industry. It's also been said that Michele even treated the crew members poorly, as she would micromanage the set and tell people how to do their jobs, and she would even throw tantrums and hold sets up for hours, forcing crew and co-stars to work long-hour days. Number 7, Christian Bale. During the production of the 2009 sequel Terminator Salvation film, lead actor Christian Bale would be caught on tape having a meltdown. Just a few months after the film debuted, the audio recording would surface, and it was clear that it was made without the actor's knowledge, as he was shocked to know he was exposed by an unnamed person on the set. In the audio, Christian could be heard going off on the film's cinematographer Shane Hurlbut, who had walked onto the scene to check a light during the filming of a scene. This apparently was the second time that he had done it, and Bale became incensed, hitting Shane with a handful of F-bombs as he threatened to smash his lighting equipment if he did it one more time. What made matters worse is that Christian even threatened to quit the film if Shane committed this offense one more time without being fired. For Shane, on his part, he was very apologetic, but then again, he couldn't get into a shouting match with the film star and not get fired. Christian would then later come out apologizing for the incident, but the two haven't worked on the same project since. Number 6, Katherine Heigl. Katherine Heigl was at the height of her career when she joined Grey's Anatomy. However, after she decided to leave the show, it seems like the star would find herself blacklisted from sets due to her poor behavior. With cast and crew members back in 2007, Katherine would badmouth her own movie Knocked Up, which would prove that she was really hard to work with. However, it wouldn't be until 2008 when Katherine would really burn all her bridges in Hollywood after she was nominated for an Emmy and withdrew her name for consideration because she felt like the Grey's Anatomy season didn't give her enough material to be nominated. She would then come out to say in a statement that she didn't feel like she was given enough material to warrant an Emmy nomination. In an effort to maintain the integrity of the Academy organization, she was withdrawing her name, and the whole world would be shocked. But an Emmy nomination is an Emmy, and if you feel like you weren't given enough material, you still take the nomination, because sometimes these nominations only come around once in your lifetime, and some people never even find themselves being nominated. Since the Grey's Anatomy creator Shonda Rhimes has been greatly offended, and fans have been totally turned off by Katherine's behavior, as Shonda worked really hard for her show, and this Emmy nomination was a big deal. Number 5, Thomas Gibson. Actor Thomas Gibson would find himself being fired from the CBS drama Criminal Minds in 2016 after 11 seasons in the wake of an on-set altercation with a producer. ABC Studios and CBS TV Studios would then come out to say in a statement that Thomas was dismissed from Criminal Minds and that his character's exit would be addressed in the show at a later date. With Gibson's character only appearing in 2 episodes that year, the actor was set to never appear in a show again after the studio conducted an internal review of an incident that alleged Thomas kicked a producer on the show, who TMZ identified to be Virgil Williams. It's also been said in the past Thomas has been known to have violent outbursts. This even included one with an assistant director in 2010 who claims Thomas shoved him. This behavior would then result in the studio to send Thomas to anger management classes. However, after the studio realized even the classes weren't working with Thomas's behavior, they decided just to let him go from the show altogether. Number 4, Mike Myers. While The Cat in the Hat was a children's show we all enjoyed watching come to life, apparently Mike Myers made the reality a daily nightmare for the cast and crew members. Amy Hill would then come out to describe how bad it actually was to work with Mike. Not only would Mike be rude to the cast and crew, but he actually would have them sit around all day waiting for him to show up on set. He also made the set hire someone to follow him around while he was in a cat costume and feed him chocolates. Whenever he needed the chocolate, the guy would run over and hand feed the chocolates to him on the set. Well, one can only imagine what it would look like to see a grown man in a costume running around a set being fed chocolates
chocolates by another human being, I can only imagine what the snack wrangler would put on their resume to describe that very job. Number 3, Christina Aguilera. Sources close to the voice production team have claimed that Christina Aguilera was nothing but a woman of people, as she was extremely rude to both the crew and the fans on the show. The sources would also say that Christina didn't want anyone to get close to her. If someone went to shake her hand, she would even yell at them not to touch her. While it's not uncommon for celebrities to want their personal space, Christina was just taking things a little too far when she started to freak out and yell at people to get out of her space, but they were only just standing in the same room as her. The crew also went on to note that it was actually pretty unpleasant to work with the diva, as she was really demanding and told everyone they should respect her. While the crew tried to deal with the situation the best they could, Christina just kept continuing to go on and ruin her image with her relentless wicked witch vibe. While the crew didn't want to hate her, they would state out of all the artists they have worked with, she seemed to be the least pleasant and compassionate out of all the bunch, and it was disheartening. Number 2, Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller is one of the few major celebrities that you rarely hear anything good or bad about, but maybe that's because he's secretly just a wonderful man and likes to keep his bad behavior on the down low. However, many people who have claimed Ben Stiller is great to work with, the Inquirer would draw a portrait that wasn't so full of sunshine and rainbows. While Ben was working on the set of The Little Fockers, he definitely got on someone's bad side, as the cast and crew made some pretty disturbing allegations when it came to his behavior. Apparently, when working on the set, Ben would earn the nickname Little Focker, as he alienated most of the cast and crew on the film in his vain, self-absorbed behavior, and when he wasn't obsessing over his looks, he would be throwing temper tantrums and screaming at the underlings. Ben even would go on to fire an assistant director and demanded star treatment for his entourage, personal chefs, hair and makeup minders, and refused to interact with the underlings unless it was to yell at them. His ego has gone off the charts, and he even went off on a female director for a perceived mistake and screamed at the top of his lungs that he never wanted to work with her again before storming off the set. He then refused to come back until she was gone, and the set let her go the next day and brought in a male replacement to appease Ben. And coming in number 1 today, we have Bill Murray. In April, Bill Murray's film would be shut down for an investigation into his alleged inappropriate behavior. That set a dark tone amid a resurface on set stories that kept Hollywood whispering for decades. In 1991, it said that Disney was even forced to hire bodyguards to protect the cast and crew of the 1991's What About Bob film, after the actor hurled a glass ashtray at Richard Dreyfuss and threatened to throw a female producer across a parking lot. Despite his enduring status of being a beloved Hollywood bad boy, Murray has repeatedly been accused of violently clashing with his co-stars, from butt-heading to inexcusable and unacceptable language on numerous sets, stretching all the way back to the 1970s. It's even been said after multiple outbursts on the What About Bob set, everyone would walk off production and fly back to LA, and the film only resumed after Disney hired some bodyguards to physically separate Bill from his co-stars and crew members in between takes.